the driveway or watching another episode of Yellowstone together on the sofa. You blew him away. You were strong, you were open, you were willing to deepen your already deep connection to him when life was tenuous. You gave him his favorite role in the whole world, and you let him be funny and wise and adventurous and tender and the most loving and loved dad. Kaleidoscope up to the light, and with each speaker, we get to shift it a bit, and we get to see another aspect of Jeff. He was so many things. I often have thought I do not know how he fit into a wrap of skin. Okay, slideshow time. Biggest thank you to Mikey Benna. Mikey Benna not only made this beautiful slideshow after 10 hours at our kitchen table, it's a 10-minute slideshow, but he was the person who created with my sister Joy, jeffhamiltonspeedskier.com, which was on the drive home from being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. The first thing Jeff said, I want a website to archive that time in my life. Mikey and Joy, thank you. Okay, let's do this. Slideshow.
Some people might say I have a death wish, but I love it. It's not nothing to do with death. It has to do with life and enjoying life and doing what you like to do and doing what you do well.
Marky got with Sharon. Sharon got Sharif. She was sharing Sharon's outlook on the topic of the seas. Mikey had a facial scar. Bobby was a racist. They were all in love with dying. They were doing it in Texas. Tommy played piano like a kid out in the rain. Then he lost his leg in Dallas. He was dancing with the train. They were all in love with dying. They were drinking from a fountain that was pouring like an avalanche coming down the mountain. I don't mind the sun sometimes. It just a show. I can taste you on my lips and smell you in my clothes. Cinnamon and sugar and softly spoken lies. You never know just how to look through other people's eyes. Some will die in hot pursuit, fiery auto crashes. Some will die in hot pursuit while sifting through my ashes. Some will fall in love with life and drink it from a fountain that is pouring like an avalanche coming down the mountain. Another Mikey took a knife while arguing in traffic. Flipper died a natural death. He caught a nasty virus. Then there was the ever-present football player Rufus. They were all in love with dying. They were doing it in Texas. Ollie caught a bullet, but it only hit his leg. Well, it should have been a better shot. It got him in the head. They were all in love with dying. They were drinking from a fountain that was pouring like an avalanche coming down the mountain.
Tuck your medal in.
If I take my medal off, put it in my back pocket.
What's your time? What do you want it to be in?
21.
21. Okay. Go, Tiger. On your mark. Get set. Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's pretty good.
You did?
What did you say, Daddy? The whole way down.
Go over there, go over there. That's right. That was in the water? Did you go backwards? Yay! What are those, Eleanor? You got your own skis?
Hi, is Daddy helping you with your skis?
Woo! Whoa! Okay, let's go.
Really? Where? Well, Mountain? Where are we going to go now? Is that it right there? Was that fun? Let's go do it again, okay?
Love your Austria snowsuit. Love your hippie tights.
Love
the skis. Love the instructor.
If you learn to ski, you must be right. Ski very fast.
How was it teaching Eleanor how to ski today?
Very good skier. She knows how to put her hands on her knees and
Yes.
stay forward on her skis and not move too far. So you go backwards.
That's good.
And she stays focused. She'll sprint down the mountain. We didn't learn how to turn you, did we? We just learned how to sprint, right? After the apple blueberries, they had lots of the cake. Gummy. Can you believe that cake? I can't believe that cake. So, blow the candles. Blow. Good girl. They say, Happy birthday, Francis! Was that a good one?
I got it! She smiled and I got it! Oh no, that was her first smile!
Jeff Hamilton of all.
Here's to Jeff Hamilton that set a course record.
Jeff Hamilton.
Jeffrey Hamilton of the United States.
American Jeff Hamilton.
Speed ski champion Jeff Hamilton.
World record holder Jeff Hamilton.
But Jeff Hamilton of the USA is getting set at the top.
In 1998, Jeff Hamilton was the fastest man in the world on 2 feet.
Jeff Hamilton setting the world record at Myers and Myers Spread.
Thank you, Jeff, for falling for my bait and switch 30 years ago in that bar in Reno after Joy and Chris's wedding. I said to you, hell yes, I want to jump out of a plane. You were excited. A cute, nice girl who wanted to parachute. You flipped through the yellow pages the next day to make a plan, and we never, ever jumped out of a plane because turns out I only wanted to jump out of a plane. But it was our origin story. It was a grand lie. It was a blessed bait and switch. I got you. We laughed about that a lot. And looking back, it was also the origin of gratitude. How thankful I was that I got you. How lucky I was that I hooked you. I don't have my readers on so I can look at you and the page. Over the last year, I emailed thank you notes to Jeff, an email every day. I have to have it because I can't see. Sorry. Thanks, Brian. Over the last year, I emailed a thank you note to Jeff every day. Every morning, he read it, his navy readers on his beautiful face slowly getting thinner and more angled with each surgery and chemo and sepsis. But there he'd be, sitting beside me on the sofa, drinking the latte I made for him and reading a list of thank yous from the day before. There is nothing better than saying out loud, nothing better than writing out loud or feeling out loud how much you love a person. Nothing better than knowing that the person you love knows that you love him. I'm going to share from my books of thank yous this year, and in that time traveling, sampling, I hope you feel my gratitude for the magnificent man that I won. Thank you, Jeff Hamilton, for arranging the toilet paper rolls on the back of the toilet into sculptures for our delight. Thank you for stopping on the side of that speed trap that day in Vars and gesturing for me to get on your back. It was not a question. So I got on, you tucked, we skied 85 miles an hour to the bottom, and you are always inviting us into the unknown. Thank you for knowing so damn much about the world, and when I say, God, you know so much about the world, you say, I'm just making shit up. Thank you for being a world champion and at the same exact time writing and illustrating our children's book, I Think I Ate Too Many Grapes Today. The next one was in the Pike, I'm Just Funny That Way. You knew how to get inside of a kid's brain. Thank you for finding ancient Roman bridges, for leading us along French walls, stone walls, and for always peering into dark holes in the earth and into basements, just for the fun of finding what was there. Thank you for making every road trip we take, a trip to the dump even, the only place I would want to be. And for turning the long ones into a chance for me to nap. He would always say, put your seat back, Carolina, I love watching you sleep. Thank you for saying that you were jealous that I got to experience childbirth. And then 20 years later, after a 10.5-hour Whipple surgery, during which Dr. Corvera removed your spleen, part of your small intestine, reconstructed your veins outside of your body, removed your entire pancreas, you got clarity in the ICU, and you looked up at me and said, so I'm a diabetic now. One more thing I get to experience. Thank you for saving that pelican on Rincon Beach, the one with the broken wing, and for holding it wrapped in a beach towel in the back seat all the way to the vet, flanked by your girls. They were dazzled. Thank you for having your iconic lines, don't ever leave your shit, and there is no such thing as a day off, only a day different. Thank you for jumping fences and always holding the door open for me. Thank you for wishing you could fly into space, but also loving shoveling snow and raking and sweeping. You loved cosmic views and a meticulous driveway. Thank you for saying in another life you want to be an excavator and a crane operator. Thank you for turning trips to Arizona to interview for medical trials into chances to wear your fancy shoes to dinner. Thank you for always washing our dirty shoes in the sink, and for telling me that when you die, you want to make sure that I remember to wash my car and wash my jackets. Thank you for pulling off on the side of the road to hunt for wild asparagus. Thank you for saying, that's the cool thing about golf. Tiger and I could hit the same ball from the same spot, and I could get it closer to the pin. Thank you for playing hypothetical with me. let's say we don't find a cure, and let's say chemo isn't working. What's on your bucket list? You. Carolina, we do not have a bucket list. We have done it all. Thank you for saying, I'm in pain when I stand, I'm in pain when I sit, I'd rather stand. Thank you for saying Alaska would be the place you'd want to live. To go moose hunting, can salmon, and to live authentically. Thank you for always performing Monty Python's What Did the Romans Ever Do for Us? Whenever we asked, especially that day in the kayak under our favorite Roman aqueduct. Thank you for riding your trainer the other day, determined to get stronger when your body surprised you that it was so weak. You could not lift 5-pound weights. So there you were, riding your bike, pumping a grapefruit in each hand. Thank you for loving cats and reminding me that people are cats. Don't chase them, let them come to you, and if they don't come, give them their space. Thank you for letting me point my phone camera at you this entire year. Your mind is the most thrilling place I have ever been. Jeff, why do you like trains? Okay, Jeff, what do you love so much about junipers? And wait, Jeff, what was so great about climbing trees? Thank you for this conversation about the moon and who could see it. Me, damn it, Jeffrey, you're right. They can't see the moon from over here. How did you know that? You, I know my place in the universe. Me, I have never known my place in the universe, not philosophically, not spiritually, not geographically. You, I am temporary and I am forever. Hold on. Thank you for holding my hand into oceans and jungles and sheets of ice and every plane takeoff and into that back alley in Vars at 3 a.m. to ask that French baker for a warm baguette. Thank you for spending 2 days scoping out the bike in St. Andrews. It was leaning against the garbage can with 2 incredibly flat tires. And when you were sure it was abandoned, you grabbed it, got on it, rode the cobblestones to breakfast, and rode down the fairway of the old course. Thank you for our fall walks to Catfish Pond. And for this conversation, me, look, a hawk. You, how great is that life? And for always saying you wished you could live 100 lives at once. Thank you for teasing me for all my ridiculous worries. When I yelled to Francis, be careful, don't get in a wreck, you would yell, and don't get hit by an asteroid. Thank you for slow blinking. Slow blinking is your way to diffuse and to instill peace and to show me that it's gonna be okay. Thank you for gathering all your weather information through radar, not projections. You like going to the source. Thank you for always veering off piste, loving point to points, because out and backs, what a waste of an opportunity to come back the same way you went. Thank you for crushing us at Scrabble under the influence of OxyContin and oxycodone. And then when we were like, what? You said, that's my job. Thank you for loving both complicated real estate deals and gas station scratchers. Thank you for calling yourself the luckiest guy in the world, even this year. Thank you for harvesting seeds in our back alley, hollyhocks and oriental poppies, and then splashing across our creek in Sierraville and tossing them to the ground so they will grow there next spring. Thank you for loving maps and compasses, and for loving getting lost even more. Thank you for being so brave and telling your girls privately, each one, to their tear-streamed faces, what you will miss about them. For inviting them into this sacred time, for showing them how to connect through grief. Thank you for our tradition of reading books to each other out loud on every trip we took. The unbearable lightness of being was on that naked nude beach in Corfu with all those Germans playing volleyball, and all the pretty horses on the Oregon coast, just to name 2. Thank you for tucking through every single commercial of the 90s. Thank you for saying the other night when you were in so much pain, maybe you could talk me to sleep. And so I did, and so you let me, And so I guided you up your favorite warm granite and onto your favorite sandy beach and into your favorite ocean to float there as the human transition between sky and sea, endlessness above and depths below. And then back to Eleanor, where you taught her to crave speed on that plastic sled, and Frances when you showed her how to climb a tree. And way back to the time you dragged your chairs to the kitchen counter to watch your mom cook, and chase your sister with a doll, and let your dad wax all your skis. And oh, that time you finally got to deep sea fish with Frances, and all those times you retrofitted Eleanor's apartments, and the time, remember, you guided us up the moraine to Hanging Basket Lake. And when I took a breath, you said, "You can stop now, Carolina. That was the most beautiful song I have ever heard." Thank you for telling Keoki that you wanted to do just one more thing after our photo shoot. You took off your sweater, then you took off your shirt, and you stood in the middle of that room. Scars, sensor, skin, bones. And you spread your arms open wide, and your fingers too, and you became a branching bolt of lightning, striking Eleanor, striking Frances, and striking me. Defiance and acceptance all at once, showing us the truth, feeling the truth out loud, and being the most exhilarating man I have ever known. Thank you for this conversation. Me. What if I was the one who died? How would you feel? What would you do? You. I think I would want to feel it all. I would want to be open to feeling all the grief. Thank you, Jeff Hamilton, for your life and your love. You dominated both. David Harrison, lifelong friend, met very baby time.
No pressure. Wow. Shakespeare said, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all." Playing the best golf of his life this past Labor Day weekend under extremely adverse conditions, Jeff shared a letter he received from Carolyn that day. We learned that Carolyn had given him a letter every day since his cancer diagnosis. Through tears, Brett, George, and I learned of the pain Jeff didn't share. Additionally, and thankfully, we were educated about the incredible relationship, bond, and teamwork Jeff and Carolyn had created. It is in that vein of pain and love that I write Jeff a thank you letter today. Jeff, Hammy, Lakefront. Growing up with you in Auburn was awesome. Thanks to you and your family for the ski trips to Yosemite and Park City in the winter. New Year's Eve bashes at Bo's and Tahoe taverns when you always polar plunge. Sharing race stories on Monday mornings at the bus stop. In the springtime, we caught butterflies for your collection and shot BB guns. Sorry, Carolyn. We played baseball together and explored Rock Creek School while your dad built his office building. Summers were the best. Grateful to have shared Dillon beach trips, the 4th of July parades when our moms dressed us up with our sisters, the 4th of July parties when our dads let us drink a little beer. Thanks for our trips to Los Gatos and Santa Cruz with your grandparents and Uncle Bob's family. Remember when the two of us were just 10 years old and we rode Bart from Annie Rue's house in Albany to San Jose to see your family? What an adventure and different time that was. Bridge weekend in Lake Tahoe or Donner with the Odoms, Ramages, Hamiltons, and the Harrisons was our favorite. Sleeping on the deck, tennis tournaments, mini golf, hide and seek, crawdadding, and beach time. You did it all, Hammy. Sure glad we didn't have cell phones to distract us. Fall meant back to school where you thrived. Cub Scouts, thanks Marianne, playing Batman and Robin in our various forts, gold panning in the canyon, and placer football games. Halloween with Mary Beth and Katie in tow, and both our birthdays. Jeff, thank you for marrying Carolyn, one of the most amazing humans on earth. Thank you for standing beside me when I married Dana, and for being a wonderful godfather to Charlie. Kudos for remaining humble, contrite, and hilarious in light of your gigantic successes in skiing, business, and most importantly, life. Thanks for teaching me how to live life to its fullest potential to the very end of yours. You are irreplaceable, Jeff, but I know you literally live on in your beautiful daughters, Eleanor and Frances. That brings me comfort and hope simultaneously. Be at peace, my lifelong friend. You seized every day. Love, David.
Rob and Matt. And the next speakers be in the queue. We're going to make this smooth. Johnny D is up next after Rob and Matt.
Okay, you're going to catch a little bit of a theme here. After a lot of thought, the best way I know how to honor our friend, husband, father, son, brother, and colleague is in the form of a thank you note to Jeff and everyone he touched. Jeff, there won't be a day I won't miss you. The moment we met freshman year at St. Mary's, I knew we would be lifelong friends. Thank you for your unyielding loyalty and love. Those 4 years were some of the best I've had, and it was because of you. What a gift we share of lifelong friends from that special time and special place. Thank you, St. Mary's, for giving us that. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing your family with me. Marianne, Mom, you hugged me from the start, and all I wanted to do was hug you back. You created a place in your heart for me that I will always treasure. Dick, I knew I could always count on you. You were so open and easy to talk to and to be with. I am sorry I didn't have a chance to tell you that before you left us. Marianne and Dick, thank you so much for raising such a sensitive, spiritual, and curious man. Jeff was truly a student and teacher of life. Mary Beth, my other little sister. Jeff loved everything about you. He loved spending time with you and sharing all the special experiences that only a brother and sister as close as you could have. Thank you for letting me share some of those times and witness your closeness. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing your childhood friends. Harry, David, Woody, Brett, Bo. Thank you for sharing with me the bond you had with Jeff. I will always admire how close you have all stayed. Jeff, thank you for letting us share your Olympic experience. I love telling people I knew the fastest man in the world. I was so disappointed not to be with you when you got your medal. Only the birth of our first son could have kept me away. Thank you, Jeff the realtor. Who would have known we would be in the same profession? Thank you for letting me talk shop with you, bouncing off ideas and frustrations that we had in common. I so valued your business opinion, your mind, and most of all, your work-life balance. You're amazing about keeping that all in check. Carolina, thank you for sharing Jeff after marriage and parenthood. especially this past year when you knew that your time was limited with him. You graciously shared Jeff with us. Your strength and determination from the beginning until the end has been mind-blowing. You have been the rock for all of us. Please let us be yours. Jeff told me many times how lucky he was to have you by his side, the perfect partner. Francis and Eleanor, thank you for sharing your incredible dad with us. He adored the two of you and worshiped the ground you walked on. He was so proud of the women you have become. Eleanor, I've never seen him more determined than to do anything in his life than to attend your graduation at St. Andrews. His joy was overflowing at seeing you and JM get that diploma. Fly, my dear friend, thank you for coming to my life. I promise to continue to honor you by being a kind, curious, loving person. You'll be celebrated here today by so many who you touched. I know you will be watching over all of us. Until we meet again, you will forever be in my heart. Love, Heath.
Hi, and thank you for joining us to celebrate Jeff's wonderful life. Jeff was an incredible friend, father, husband, brother, and son. My name's Rob Kidwell, and I was fortunate to have met Jeff in college and stayed close with him for over 39 years. But I think what made Jeff so special was his ability to make the ordinary extraordinary. We were all aware of what he could do on skis, but it was his outlook on life and the way he connected with people that was truly unique. Jeff appreciated everything and didn't miss out on the smallest of details. Whether it was visiting him in Vogelsang, watching him compete in VARs, hikes to Catfish Pond, or the way he made craft cocktails in his shirts with surprises, there was always a little bonus he added to make life more enjoyable. One of the best parts of being Jeff's friend was getting to know his family. I was lucky to spend time with Dick, Marianne, and Mary Beth at their home in Donner, where we shared a lot of laughter and even more incredible meals. Regardless of the season, the gatherings in Donner were always fantastic. But during the winter months, nothing was better than walking downstairs to freshly waxed skis, prepped by Dick that morning. So it was only felt right that I had a hand in Jeff and Carolyn's beginnings. While Jeff and Carolyn actually met at the wedding of Joy, Carolyn's sister, and our good friend from college, Chris, I'd like to think it was perhaps the fate that brought them together. And by fate, it was perhaps me being a little overserved. And when I get a little overserved, I like to wander. Jeff, fortunately, was tasked that night of making sure I didn't stray too far. And Carolyn nicely kept Jeff company during my stroll. So I take pride in the beginning. Hey, what are you going to do? So I take pride in being a part in the beginnings of their love story. But to me, nothing was more extraordinary. Nothing was more extraordinary than when Jeff decided to leave speed skiing and to start a family with Carolyn. He was not only a fantastic dad, but he was also like a camp counselor, always creating adventures for them to explore and experience. So as much fun as I had with Jeff in college, I feel even more fortunate to have been able to share his friendship and connection with my wife and two daughters. Don't get me wrong. As extraordinary as Jeff was, it wasn't easy being his friend. Imagine driving home after a weekend with the Hamiltons and your daughter's drilling you with questions like, "Hey, Dad, do you think you could ski as fast as Jeff?" Or, "Hey, Dad, can you hang our beds from the ceiling like Jeff?" Or, "Hey, Dad, can you build fairy houses like Jeff?" All of which I could simply answer, "Not quite," which was really a soft no. But it was that connection with Jeff, but it was that connection we had with Jeff that almost ruined a family vacation. When my daughters were young, they had always wanted to go to Disneyland. So my wife and I put together a surprise trip telling the girls that we were going to go to the Hamiltons for a long weekend. Amazingly, we made the 6-hour trek to Southern California without the girls realizing we had gone the opposite direction. And as we pull up to Disneyland, my wife and I say, "Okay, guys, we're here." The headphones come off, they look out the window, and the first words we hear are, "This isn't the Hamiltons." You lied. You said we were going to visit the Hamiltons in Donner. So here we were at the happiest place on earth with the grumpiest kids in the park because we weren't at the Hamiltons. And I remember calling Jeff as I'm in the park and telling him the story, and we were in hysterics. And in true Jeff fashion, he's like, "Turn the car around, come to Donner, I'll leave the house open." So Jeff, you will be dearly missed. But there won't be a day when I'm heading off to ski or ride or hike that I won't be thinking of you. And by the way, thanks for building those fairy houses. I think I might still have one in the garage.
Johnny, yeah, there he is. Wait, everybody hold your shoes up. Jeff loves shoes, super fancy shoes. So Johnny's wearing a pair of Jeff's shoes, but you have to see them. You probably have to, you'll just check out Johnny later. Okay.
Trying to get a little energy from them. A little out of my league here, but I feel proud to have such a friend as Jeff, as you all probably do. Honored to be asked to be here, and although Jeff, as of late, did not like to use the word fight, he did his best to understand and meet the beast head on. And that alone brings me to my knees with emotion, so excuse me. My name is John Dugan, and like you, I've been able to share some life experiences with Jeff. Any one of you could be up here today, but today it's me, and I have some thoughts and inspiring speed ski moments with Jeff to share. What I learned and how I may have grown personally from his influence. I first met Jeff 32 years ago at Kirkwood when the North Shore Boys came south for a 1990 speed event. I believe it was his first race. He was borrowing gear and figuring the whole speed thing all out. I had not met him yet, but I guess he had bought an old helmet of mine from someone, and it still had Dugan printed on both sides. I looked at this guy funny and said harshly, "Dude, get my name off your helmet." He looked at me like I was an ass, which I was. And said calmly, "Relax. I don't know. I thought it was the name of the helmet." I had forgotten all about it, but the boys remind me yearly on the tour what an ass I was, and I've been embarrassed ever since over the years, and here I am now speaking of one of the most important friends in my life. Following Kirkwood, immediately Jeff joined the World Cup Tour, and we all got to know each other pretty well with a lot of traveling, training, and racing. Jeff was an obvious natural, strong, driven, and fast. Time and time again, he pretty much stunned the speed ski world as he came out of nowhere and frequently appeared in the top 5. Jeff brought his own brand of mental strength, physical energy, and from the beginning, he had what I call a natural position, with an ideal body shape, head super low, with hands stretched out in front like Steve. Aerodynamically, he was on point, and he was getting more refined by the day. Jeff then qualified for the U.S. Olympic team selection with CJ, Jimbo, Dale, Melissa, Kirsten, and Rochelle. And considered to be the pinnacle of sport, he amazingly, 2 years into this sport, achieved a bronze medal at the '92 Olympic Games. Tell me that's not natural. Carrying the fastest American title, Jeff gained justified respect, and together with his relaxed personality and supportive nature, Jeff soon became the American team's unassuming leader, and with that has set a new standard for U.S. speed ski team expectations. Jeff followed the usual processes and speed skier protocols, tested at the wind tunnels, and with other equipment looking for information. Most would guard technical discovery or breakthrough as a potential edge over the competition, but not Jeff. He discovered applying a spray lubricant on his suit would keep his suit from sticking to itself and allow some subtle movement on a bumpy track. Because of this relief, he was able to feel more comfortable and keep his head low on rougher tracks. He did not hide it or see this as a trick. But this technique was interesting as it confused others, as the long-time rule of thumb in speed skiing is to lock in and forcefully hold a tight position. But Jeff saw it differently. He did his research and knew what worked for him, and he was confident and committed with his techniques, and he was really compelling to see him openly expose his odd discovery. Because of this commitment to the challenge and his trusted process, Jeff was able to draw on a rare laser-like mental focus on the day of the race, and he was all business. He was able to balance the daily mental stress and stay relaxed. I was always amazed and hoped this insight I noticed was enough to advance myself. Well, it turned out Jeff had far more than just that. Looking back, his mentorship not only pushed us all to understand our own personal process more thoroughly, but to also realize and enhance our own connection with others. Honestly, I feel like his personality created more social bridges that would not have been there otherwise. He was interviewed in countries around the world, and I think this helped the sport at the time and spread the American dream, as his delivery was honest and accomplished, and he represented the sport and the country with class. Now for a bit of flip. Jeff's uninhibited side always been super wacky and funny. One time in between events in France, we watched Jim Morgan ski a steep couloir in Vars. Jeff and I wanted no part of this, as it was a major climb up around the back, and Jimbo was on a different level with that type of skiing. So we waited down below and watched Jimbo descend. It was super warm, sunny spring day on the snow, and Jeff and I, overheating in our ski gear, coincidentally at the same time, without planning it, dropped our ski pants to our boots and stood there on the side of a run in our boxers, watching Jimbo make his way down. We laughed hard. Two guys in undies standing like mimes looking up, and Jeff with his quiet chuckle as people skied by with confusion. I think he loved to play with the shock factor. Or the time Jeff and Mark Haynes speed skied naked in Stelvio. You'll have to ask Mark about that one. Again, the shock factor. Or the time we played golf in Dijon and found a pond with a thin sheet of ice on it, and Jeff wanted to compete to see who could run and slide across it in a tuck before it broke and we fell in. Or the time he jumped out of my moving van in a snowstorm and pushed 1 kilometer or more up a mountain road in 5 to 6 inches of unplowed snow. He gave new meaning to the phrase committed to the cause. I will never forget that, and it's one of my key takeaways he has left me with. He was always excited to take on any challenge and compete, to test himself, to conquer the situation. He wanted to dominate anything that posed a challenge. Or the Red Bull Tower record event, and Jeff was one of the first 3 to jump off an untested, near vertical 30-meter drop of a tower into a possible 240-plus kilometer run. Again, Jeff immersed himself in the challenge. Or the day he broke the world speed skiing record and became the fastest man in the world. It was a special day. He dominated and was overjoyed and grinning from ear to ear. But he was so proud of everyone that day, he celebrated with each one of them. It was really amazing to notice that. Special memories just keep coming to mind, and I'm sure others like Jimbo, Dale, Charlie, Mark, and many other speed skiers have plenty of memories to share. Over the years, we checked out the world, experienced different cultures, dissected our sport, pushed our personal limits, and we're all about competing alongside Jeff as he climbed to the top. But it was apparent that just as important to him was that we were connected as an international speed ski community. He loved that we were all different, each one of us, a brotherhood searching for the same thing. Jimbo, Philippe, Mark, Charlie, Dale, Mark, CJ, Melissa, Curly, Tamara, Billy, and no less important, the rest of the Americans. Not any less connected to Jeff are the French team, his friends in Vars and Lazare, the Italian team, the Swiss team, the Finns, the Swedes, the Brits. Everyone in the speed ski circle had their own special moments with Jeff. I saw many look to this guy for bits of feedback and insight at a time we were all searching for speed, trying to keep up with him, number one, but maybe using his lead to help find ourselves, test our own limits. This man had a positive impact on everyone he crossed paths with. This man really was everyone's friend. Jeff's wife accompanied him to some events as well, showing he could focus on competition and then relax with the love of his life too. He was able to perform on the track with or without his life companion, but he was noticeably more complete those days traveling with Carolyn. As long as I've known Jeff, he's not only been passionate, but more importantly in this world today, compassionate. He has been understanding and respectful and took the time to converse with others. He listened intently. He seemed to really ponder the true meaning of something and responded thoughtfully. He was relaxed, goofy, and fun as he was focused, committed, and intense. Time and time again, we played off each other's kooky innuendos and laughed hard every time we were together. All these traits, yes, it's true. He had such a well-balanced and diverse intellect, he could draw from them all. Jeff was that much of an inspiration. Years back, when he sold one of his first multi-million-dollar listens, he told me it gave him the same feeling as did a world record. Again, Jeff was all about the journey with family and friends, but the challenges seemed to spark his brain. In closing, I feel lucky to have had some time and experiences with Jeff, and I am a better man for it. I will always be inspired by his ethic, his prowess, mental fortitude, and the beautiful family he leaves us with. At the end of the day, this man truly excelled and dominated his time on this earth. In whatever he addressed, he was a good man with a big heart, and he was smoking fast on the track. Excuse me. Jeff, buddy, if you're looking down, I will forever be grateful. Thank you.
Wow, this room is amazing. It's not shocking or surprising, but it is amazing. An incredible testament to Jeff and how many people he touched, how many people loved him. And I know there are a lot of people who wanted to be here tonight that are watching via the live stream. So thank you to those folks too. My name is Breck Overall. I was Jeff's business partner, and I was blessed to spend a lot of time with Jeff. Although we were only business partners for 5.5 years, I spent a lot of time with Jeff. We talked almost practically, felt like every day. We took trips together. We went to networking events together. We did deals together. We did presentations together. And I got to experience and witness how he approached life, obviously work, how he touched other people, and obviously how he touched me. So tonight, I'd like to share just a little glimpse of that. I'm going to do that by sharing some quotes I got to hear from Jeff, some quotes I've heard about Jeff, and share a letter, keeping in the theme here, that I wrote to Jeff. When Jeff called me to tell me he had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, he struck me. He had an interesting sense of humor sometimes, but he also approached everything with such a positive opinion or attitude. And he said to me, "Breck, it's okay. It's cancer, and it's going to be an experience. I'm going to experience having cancer, I'm going to experience treating cancer, and I'm going to experience beating cancer." And he did that very well. But he looked at me and he said, and this is not paraphrasing, this was an exact quote. He said, "Breck, I love experiences. I'm going to experience this, and it's going to be fine. If I could get pregnant and carry a baby, I would do that." That was so Jeff, and you commented on that too. Another quote from Jeff was, "Breck, that makes me so happy. I can't tell you how many times Jeff said this to me. When we got a break from real estate and I got to spend time with my family or go do something fun for myself, and I would share a story or a picture with Jeff, he always said, 'Breck, that makes me so happy.' He took such joy in other people's happiness. I've never experienced that with another human being to the extent that he did." The last quote I want to share with you was just 4 days before Jeff passed away. I got the opportunity to spend some time with him at the cancer center here in Truckee while he was getting chemo. We had a great conversation. We didn't really even talk about work. And Jeff said something very profound to me that I'll never forget. He said, "My world has gotten so small, but my world is so big." And what he meant by that is his world had been so confined to trips to the cancer center to get chemo treatments, the trips to the ER, wearing a mask, not being able to go and do the things he loved. But his world had been so enriched by how close he'd gotten to his friends and family and how deeply he got to love the people who were close to him. I'm going to shift here a little bit. Jeff passed away, obviously. That day, the word kind of got out slowly, but then it exploded like wildfire. I got, I don't know if I want to use the word pleasure, but I got inundated and overwhelmed with so many calls, emails, text messages. Literally between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. on that day, I received 83 phone calls and over 200 text messages. What just impressed me was not the volume. I mean, I knew a lot of people loved Jeff, but the comments that were made about Jeff. I could stand up here for the next 2 hours and read all these beautiful comments from many of you in this room. Carolyn told me I had to keep this short, so I won't do that. But I do want to share a couple that stood out to me. This is from Drennan, who is a colleague of ours down in the Bay Area. "I know for a fact the world was better because of Jeff. I never would have gotten into real estate if it weren't for Jeff. I'd always been hesitant about real estate because I thought it was a world only for the sleazy, salesy type. But meeting Jeff changed everything because he couldn't be further from that. Everything about Jeff was genuine, authentic, and most importantly, good." This is from Bill, a local realtor and friend. "Legend, leader, pioneer, a class act, one for whom I have much admiration." Eleanor, another colleague of ours. "He was a champion of a human in all respects." Magda, another colleague down the Bay. "His warmth and smile lit up every room. He was always one of the friendliest people to talk with so much positive, infectious energy. I loved the way he would speak so highly about his daughters. He was a proud father, and you could tell he loved his family more than anything. As Bill would say, he was one of the good guys." The list goes on and on. I'm not kidding. I literally could stand here for hours. But I know you all have your stories and your quotes, and I look forward to, after this ceremony, hearing those and sharing them with you. I'm going to wrap up real quick, again, keeping with the theme here. I was in Kauai for Christmas with my family, and I started to write a letter to Jeff, and I thought I had a hell of a lot more time to read it to him. And I didn't finish it until 2 days ago, but I hope you'll indulge and let me share it with you. I need a sip of water. By the way, you all look fantastic out there. Dear Jeff, thank you for a magical gift. Never in a million years did I expect our business partnership to grow into one of the most special and rewarding friendships one could ever hope for in their lifetime. Not only did we make our clients happy, set records, and make a lot of money, we had an absolute blast doing it. Remember our first listing consultation together in Gray's Crossing? We walked out high-fiving each other, not because we got the listing, but because we realized we had an incredible chemistry when we were talking with our clients. That's when the light bulb went on. We're going to be a great team. There was never an ego involved, and we both were aligned with our deepest interest in what was best for our clients. I loved how we bounced the ideas off each other and respected each other's opinions. You made selling real estate fun. You're the highlight of my career. I learned a lot from you, Jeff. You made me a better person. You inspired me. You were always so giving and thoughtful. You were selfless. You approached and handled every challenge and opportunity with such zeal. The way you battled cancer taught me grace. Your contagious energy reminded me how we impact others with our own enthusiasm, authenticity, and smiles. You highlighted that there is much more to life than selling another home or making another buck. As you demonstrated, it is about loving your friends and family, creating experiences with them, and enjoying every moment. You're an amazing husband, Carolyn, a loving and proud father to Eleanor and Francis, a well-respected community figure, trusted business partner, and a very dear friend. Although you have moved on to a more comfortable place, you are deep in my heart, and I will always cherish the memories we created together. Going forward, I will always take joy in asking myself, what would Jeff do? I heard a quote recently that struck me, and it goes like this: "The goal in life is not to live forever, but to create something that will." You nailed that, Jeff. I love you like a brother. Thank you for making my life better by being such a significant part of it. Love, your partner and friend, Breck. And real quick, I just want to say thank you to Carolyn and Eleanor and Francis. You've welcomed me into your home like a family member, and I really appreciate that. And thank you for making this amazing evening possible.
Got it?
One of my favorite things I shared with my dad was music, and we always shared our favorite artists and songs. And one of my favorites, since I was probably like 5, was the Smashing Pumpkins. So I want to play one of our favorite songs by the Smashing Pumpkins. It's called Today.
Wow. Thank you all. My gosh, it's beautiful to see all of your loving faces. My name is Mary Beth, and for those of you who don't know me, I am Jeff's sister. Just thank you for all being here to celebrate Jeffrey. It's an overwhelming reflection of how he loved you all and how you loved him. I think you all know it is impossible to capture a spirit like my brother's in mere words, although there have been a lot of really beautiful words, and it's happening. He was too big and bright to harness into a few minutes of sharing, but I'll try. After Jeff's surgery in April, I painted a piece titled Full Moon for my brother to express my love in a way that I feel is probably far more accurate than words will ever be for me. For months, I told my brother that I absolutely would not, under any circumstance, write him a death and dying letter. It would be like admitting he was not going to make it. And that was more than I could imagine. Jeff worked so hard to stay alive, with the incredible support and love from Carolyn and their big, beautiful team. And I only wanted to support his determination, and also to believe that we would all have more time to be together. Alas, at Christmas, I broke down and wrote him one of those dreaded notes, and I have decided to share part of it with you today. When I gave it to him, he sighed and said, "I haven't written you a note." And of course, we both know our notes are written in our hearts, but it was a bit funny because I said, "Of course you haven't. I had to sign your name on every birthday card for Mom and Dad forever." It was a running joke, but true. So here it is, but maybe a sip of water. Jeffrey, thank you for being my brother, for watching out for me, for tormenting me with lizards and yardsticks, and yes, dolls, for being so generous and loving, for playing and skiing, fishing and camping, for having a beautiful ski career and inviting me to come help and be a part of your world, for sharing your family with me, endless cute moments with your girls, for folding me in again and again, for loving our family and building moments, memories, and chapters together. I am grateful for all the big moments and all the small moments in between. I am so proud of the human you are, the love and caring that you have shared with those lucky enough to know you and love you. Thank you for giving me a sister and for giving me nieces. Thank you for walking this earth as only you could, for fulfilling your dreams on so many levels. There is truth in how you chose to live. An expression of your essence imprinted into our lives and the very fabric of being. This is success. Truly being you. You are loved deeply and widely. I love you deeply and widely. I will always honor your heart and hold you in mine. I will continue to love you with every breath I take and care for your family always in the very best way that I can. I am eternally grateful for you, and I'm so sad we don't get to grow really old together, and I'm a little mad too. I love you always. I thought I would finish with a few stories and images from childhood to make you all smile. The backstory to Jeff being a very successful speed skier all began in our shared childhood bedroom in Auburn. I suspect it began about the time we witnessed what I thought was a horrific speed skiing event at Squaw Valley at the jump hill which ran into the parking lot. Some of you might remember or possibly skied in it. Nothing but terrible crashes in the run out. It was clearly a very unsafe sport in my 7-year-old mind. However, my assessment was the polar opposite of Jeff's. His eyes were big and gleaming and full of awe and excitement. I kid you not. From that day forward, Jeff could be found perfecting his tuck in our room at any hour. I would always ask, like a sister would, "What are you doing?" Simple answer, tucking. And as many of you know who grew up with us on the Auburn Ski Club and trained at Boreal Ridge, it was a tucking kind of hill. I can say that we were lucky enough to have Bill Clark at the helm, who encouraged a whole lot of fun at Boreal and a whole lot of tucking. We Boreal kids needed some small advantage over the Tahoe kids. The funny supporting fact, the funny supporting fact to Jeff making his dreams a reality is that when he wasn't tucking, he was poring over the Guinness Book of World Records. He was so enthralled by that book and determined to someday be on those pages. Check and check. Years of dreaming and refining paid off. Another sweet side note to my brother being an exceptional competitor is that when I was fortunate enough to be on tour with him as his personal porter, he would beg me, his Capricorn sister, who is chronically punctual, if not terribly early, to make him late to the top of the track on race day. Hives for me, while Jeff was just trying to feel some nerves because he thought it might help him perform better. Pretty sure he did not need the help. He was an in-the-flow kind of human. I will miss him terribly, but I know he will continue to light up the world through Eleanor and Francis and all of us who knew him and loved him. Just thank you.
Eric Litvin, we met, where are you, Eric? Okay, come on. Boom, boom. We met Eric and his wife Jennifer in Aspen, and Eric has been a very long, deep friend of Jeff's.
Hi, everyone. It's crazy. I'm more nervous giving this right now than Jeff ever was standing at the top of a speed track, I think. It's a difficult honor to do justice to the love, admiration, and gratitude I hold for my dear friend, Jeff Hamilton. Over the quarter century of our friendship, we have become family. I idolized Jeff like a big brother. How could I not? He was my personal birth of cool. And I'd submit he was a fully realized Renaissance man. With his Spicoli-inspired mountain chic attire that we all know so well, he would bound down the steps 2 at a time to our front door on visits to our home in Sonoma County. Whoops. And in his sweet, clear voice, with a sparkle in his bright blue eyes and big, warm smile, he'd exhort a welcome. Hello, Eric. Hello, Jen. And hello, Maya. Open his arms and offer a big, hearty embrace. He was both a lean-in and lean-forward guy, but never at the expense of balance, right? Jeff loved his life, loved action, getting out to the ocean, the trail, with his friends and family, to the links, the tennis court, a ride on the bike, a ski. He'd hold court, delve deep into intellectual discourse, and sensing the need, pivot to his witty, hysterical observations that could double you over in fits of can't catch your breath laughter. We could go on forever about his talents, his artistry, and his many achievements. I'm incredibly honored to know him, but the one thing I wanted to share with you that I found to be so special and the very essence of the man is that he listened with his heart. He fixed his eyes on the people whom he loved, and he deeply listened, shared, and in a Yoda-esque signature Jeff styling would offer the most astute, spot-on little gem to prop you up, get you unstuck, and get you back on your way with a little giddy up. There's nothing more intimate in the world than being heard and seen in this manner. He gave his full heart to everything and everyone he held dear in his beautiful, full life. Over the years, we have celebrated our family's successes and our personal growth. His cup had surely runneth over. Adding to his many lifetime achievements, in the last 10 years, our aerodynamic friend found yet another gear and rocketed into the stratosphere. We all bore witness to his interstellar meteoric ascent. And with his success, he remained the same wholesome, grounded, chill, lovable man we have always known. Jeff was truly at the top of his game and on top of the world. We all know of Jeff's passion for conservation, land use, and naturalism. He loved open spaces and loved to wax poetic out on the trail. It was all theater to us in that moment, enjoying and celebrating each other as we did so many times together. Time with Jeff recharged our batteries. He was fired up about life, and his unflappable, steely disposition was contagious and inspirational to all who knew him. I will forever find your spirit and hold it dear. Oh, brother, flowing with me out on the trails. Good night, sweet prince, and flights of angels sing thee to thy rest.
Okay, we'll switch. Sorry. My name's Elizabeth, and Shauna and I are going to share a letter to Carolyn. Be ready. Just thought I'd give you that 1 minute to prepare. Dear Carolyn, you asked us to speak as friends of yours who have had the privilege of spending much of our 30s, 40s, and 50s together with you and Jeff and Eleanor and Francis, about what we have witnessed and experienced. And in reflecting on your life with Jeff and Eleanor and Francis, what strikes us is the essence of what we know as Jeff and Carolyn. Both of you shine in this world as incredible individuals. We remember the wild stories of Jeff's curiosity and his courage. We savor the kindness and generosity he showered upon each of us so lovingly, so without hesitation. We know with certainty Jeff possessed a special mix of wit and wisdom that made him remarkable. And all of us here who know you, Carolyn, well, we know you are every bit as extraordinary in your own right. The most attentive friend, sister, mother, and partner the world could ever dream up. A generous giver and a brilliant editor of life and living, knowing how to bring things into focus and how to illustrate the very best in ideas and in people. But it's the alchemy of you two spectacular humans that truly tipped the scales. Your essence together, the mix of you two, was pure magic. Not dissimilar to the legendary cocktails Jeff created with blueberries, lime, a splash of gin, and a sprig of rosemary, your ingredients mixed together bubbled elegantly. They delighted not just you, but all of us by extension. And they made the ordinariness of daily life feel very much more like a special celebration. Carolyn, your ideas sparked Jeff's ideas. His view expanded your vision, and on until you had dreamed up a million little projects like house building and homeschooling and parlor parties and scavenger hunts in medieval cities, backpacking trips in the Sierra Buttes and at Loch Leven Lakes, and camper van travels all around the West. Those big adventures and even those smallest moments They showed us all the essence that is Jeff and Carolyn together. My God, you two loved being together. You made a trip to the hardware store to pick out paint sound like a really great date. A full day's work tiling the bathroom or pruning the trees together in Sierraville seemed not like a chore, but like just where you both wanted to be. Even in this past year that was filled with so much heartache and so much physical discomfort, your quiet moments of whispering in the middle of the night, the slow walks through downtown under snow and starlight, all of it was about being together. Even the gentle way he asked for your attention, Carolina, with a lilt and a pause, so much love and tenderness and respect. You just really, really liked each other. And you both knew it. And you told each other over and over and over again how very lucky you were. And how beautiful is that?
And for those of you who may not know, Jeff's birthday gift this year to Carolyn was a precious gem, a Sri Lankan sapphire. And as Carolyn said, Jeff, he just wasn't a precious gem kind of guy. But he knew, and he wanted you to remember, Carolyn, in this lasting way, you are precious to him. The day after Jeff died and you said, it is so amazing. It's an amazing thing to be inspired by a person. I'm sure every one of us here, and we've heard tonight, has felt inspired by Jeff in one way or another. Although I think many of us would probably opt not for the inspiration to hurl our bodies down a mountain at 150 miles per hour. But we were inspired by his kindness, his supreme goodness, his devotion to his family, his care for everyone. His lightness, humor, his amazing ability to tease like the most loving of big brothers. Most of all, wait, this is mine? No, this is mine. Most of all, we were inspired by the Jeff and Carolyn essence, what you created together, the meaning-making you two constantly derived from this life, this magnificent life of family, friends, and love, and love, and love, and love. One of the last times we celebrated with Jeff was on your birthday, Carolyn, this mid-December. We stood on the deck below, and you two gazed down at us as we beautifully, I might add, sang, hugging and crying and swaying on that snowy deck, bright lit candles and a raucous chorus singing, Sweet Caroline, your essence emanated. The gorgeous love you two created was palpable. Later that evening, after we had dispersed, per usual, you two whispered the meaning-making of that day. And you passed along to us that what Jeff said that he loved the most about that gathering was that he saw and he knew and he wanted you to know and always remember, Carolyn, that you are loved. And Frances and Eleanor, this love extends to you two amazing sweet girls as well. And know that we see this potent essence of your parents reflected so clearly in you. Eleanor with your calm, your unwavering focus and ambition. Francie with your creative interpretation of the world and all of its possibilities. Carolyn, though our love will never, ever rival that of your sweetest Jeffrey Hamilton, know that we are all, look at the size of this room. We are all here to love you. We will honor this beautiful life you and Eleanor and Frances shared with Jeff, and we will honor this life that lies in front of you with love, love, and more love.
All right. Thank you all so much for just being here. This is my father. This is Merle Bruce. He has been a doctor in Reno since 1979. He is a lovely man, and he is also Jeff's father-in-law.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. My name is Merle Bruce. I'm Carolyn's dad. I'm Jeff's father-in-law, and he's my son-in-law. I prepared a few comments. Carolyn asked me to say a few words about my relationship with Jeff as his father-in-law, him as my son-in-law, and to also talk a little bit about his medical journey over the last year as viewed by a person who was not really his physician, but saw himself as kind of a semi-concierge person with a bit of medical knowledge that could help him navigate the medical landscape. And for all of us, we know that navigating that medical landscape in a kind of a foreign world of science and all the new developments, it can be very daunting. So that was my role for Jeff in the past year, and it's been quite a journey. And I'm so impressed with all the speakers that have come up here and expressed the love and all of the expressions of Jeff as truly an international Renaissance man. We have been known to Jeff and he to us since August of 1992, really. Jeff and Carolyn were married in 1998, but I'll get to that in just a moment. I have a few opening comments about Jeff as seen by our family and by myself as his father-in-law. Try to make this so it works. Sorry about this. I live in Reno. We've been there for about 40 years. I've been a physician in that community for that long. I had the distinct honor of knowing Jeff Hamilton as a son-in-law since 1998 and even before. As I'll mention, in 1992, it really kind of happened, and there are a bunch of the St. Mary's crew in this room that were present for Chris and Joy's wedding that day, and we'll get to that. I want to touch on that. It's quite a poignant story. And in this past year, I have known Jeff as a very special patient. In both roles as a father-in-law and as a physician, I witnessed an overarching theme in Jeff's persona. His willingness and capacity to not only show up and be present, but be proactive, deeply thoughtful, and always relevant. What is the definition of presence? Don't want to get too technical here, but presence is defined as a state or fact of existing. Don't want to get too existential here now, but being present in a place or thing. Being, companionship, and residence. Those are all synonyms, if you will. The opposite is absence, and absent is not what Jeff was. Jeff was present at the 1992 wedding of Joy Ellen and Chris. At the reception, there were a group of eligible bachelors, including some of the guys in this room that I've seen tonight, some of the St. Mary's crew and others. And Jeff competed for the garter at that traditional garter toss. Now, some of you may not be familiar with that. I happen to be, and it's quite an event. Not an Olympic event, but it's close. Jeff caught the garter. As legend has it, this would bestow upon the recipient of that prize good luck and good fortune in romance, courtship, and marriage. Now listen, I'm standing up here as the citadel of objectivity, as a tried and true doctor who's been through everything you can imagine. And I'm not going to get subjective and whimpery up here. I wouldn't be apologetic about that, but I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try to get through this. In any event, Jeff caught the garter. Good luck in romance and courtship and marriage. That's clairvoyance at work. Jeff and Carolyn met that day, that very day. They connected and were mutually smitten. As they say, the rest is history. As his father-in-law, I enjoyed a front row seat for 30 years watching Jeff interact with our family, especially at Sunday night dinners, which are an institution in our household, and our annual family retreat, another institution many of you may have heard about. To wit, Jeff was a superb gravy maker at Thanksgiving. The younger set, the nieces and the nephews as they grew up, identified in Jeff that action, that kinetic, that motion gene. Whatever it was, throwing or kicking balls, skiing on snow or water, or finding a way to get them down the sand dune at Dillon Beach in a speedy fashion, that was Jeff. He was their go-to guy. Jeff was Randy's best fly fishing student at Black Butte. During our guided rock climbing session at Redfish Lake in the Idaho Sawtooth, Jeff was the first one to learn the mandatory knots and techniques to belay himself to the top of that sheer rocky ledge. I mean, it was like, for me, and this was many years ago, I participated, as did our whole family, and it was like a nightmare. And I will note this, I still wake up at night in a cold sweat with flashbacks about that rock climbing episode, while Jeff told me he wondered why we didn't make that a regular event. Can't tell you. Now, a little bit about golf. We have to talk a little bit about golf in the family. We can debate about a golfer or someone who plays golf, and the intellectuals will tell you that there's a difference. I submit that Jeff was a golfer. He rescued driver's irons and putters from my golf garage. He made them do things that I could never make them do. Jeff played golf courses like the 9-hole Ponderosa course on Brockway to Martis Camp. He played from Pebble Beach to the old sod at St. Andrews. It was an amazing journey in golf for him, and he did love the game. He even caddied for me when I played in the Bob Hope Classic in La Quinta, which kind of ironically is finishing up and is probably over today. For Jeff, golf was not a long walk spoiled. Indeed, and instead, it was a great walk embellished. Embellished by family, embellished by friends. He loved the flora and the fauna. He loved the elements, the wind and the sun. And he loved the competition. And he loved the walk itself. He was present and all in. This past year, Jeff's ability to be present expanded and deepened when he became a cancer patient. He trusted me. We confided in each other. From the beginning of his cancer journey, even with the uncertainty of his initial diagnostic workup, I could see in Jeff the following: calmness, uncanny ability to listen and understand, an analytical mind allowing him to problem solve, cut to the chase, and proceed. Does that sound familiar for Jeff? During our many conversations, his questions were relevant and he assimilated information reliably. I remember particularly well listening in on an audio Zoom call Jeff had with his UC surgeon. Jeff's presence reverberated through the speakers. His voice inflections gave depth to his well thought out questions. His capacity as a patient, to me, was really impressive. Throughout this last year, there were many challenges for Jeff, challenges a lesser motivated, less committed patient could not have met. In the past 40 years, I have been immersed in the practice of ENT, head and neck surgery, facial trauma surgery. And before that, I was an Army surgeon in the Vietnam era. After all of these years of this experience, I have come very close to seeing it all. What I have not seen is a man, a patient, as committed, impressive, and endearing as Jeff Hamilton. I'll leave you with a couple of quotes by Coach John Wooden. Wittingly or unwittingly, I think Jeff was an acolyte of Coach Wooden. The first quote is one that Jeff would identify with, and that is, "Be quick, but don't hurry." And the second quote is directed really more to Carolyn and to Eleanor and to Francis. And that quote, as many of you I'm sure have heard, "The best thing that you can do for your children is love their mother." Thank you, everyone, for being in the best Jeff Hamilton tradition, being here and being present. Thank you.
The day before my dad died, I grabbed a yellow legal pad from the stack on his desk. He was in the hospital, and I was at home waiting for him to return. I needed the legal pad as a firm surface for the crossword puzzle I'd just printed out. 5 days later, I was tidying up the living room I now knew my dad wasn't coming home to. I quietly channeled some of my rage into the incomplete crossword sitting beside the sofa, crumpling it into a ball. When I glanced down, the legal pad was sitting there, exposed, and a block of my dad's handwriting caught my eye. Below the short, scribbled list of my dad's updated football playoff predictions, and resting peacefully inside the pad's blue lines, was a poem. A poem my mom later told me he had written in the middle of the night, one of his many recent sleepless nights. The poem reads, "This year, the juniper exhales, tempting the sun to absorb its wet breath. The granite listens and decides not to sigh." I'm here to tell you what it was like to be my dad's daughter. What a task. Out of respect for the unspoken bond he and I had, while also trying to say something of substance to all of you, what I will say is that every day of being his daughter was like discovering this breathtaking, seemingly effortless, hand-scribbled poem. A beautiful surprise, composed of a tranquil sense of calm, cunning strategy, wise guidance, and anticipatory thrill. When I was a baby, crying, my dad would pick me up and say, "Oh, what is that?" I'd pause my wails for a moment. My eyes would follow his pointing finger into the distance. "Is that a zebra?" he'd ask. "On the moon?" The surprise in his voice soothed me and sparked imagination in my infant heart. For every day since, my gaze has been fixed on the trail of surprise leading out from his pointing finger. "Really?" I asked as a 6-year-old. "That's how small Pluto is?" Staring at the tiny papier-mâché planet he was in the process of hanging from the ceiling in the far corner of our living room. I was surprised to see it so far from the others. But he knew this would only make me more curious about the universe and my place in it. When I was 8, I stood on the edge of our flat roof, staring fearfully at my dad resting in the feet of snow below me. He squinted up at me, yelled, "You'll be surprised," and pointed at the snow surrounding him. I gripped tightly to those words as I leapt into the air. When I landed in the soft powder next to him, he smiled, and I smiled, and we both knowingly nodded. At 16, when I would walk through the front door on Friday evenings, exhausted from the week, my dad would stand in the entryway, grinning and pointing to the corner, where, at the end of his trail of surprise, were my skis waxed and ready for tomorrow's race. This was a small weekly gesture of surprise that he knew would give us more time together at the dinner table that evening, talking about our weeks or just sitting silently in each other's company. When I was 18, he pointed across the ocean, encouraging me to feel the thrill and constant surprise that comes with living overseas. He wanted to open my world to 4 years of university in a place that felt almost as far as Pluto did in our living room. And this year, after his cancer diagnosis came as a humbling and gut-wrenching surprise to all of us, he asked me to resist my all-consuming pull to come home and instead stay overseas. He wanted me to continue experiencing every day as a 22-year-old, launching, as he said, into my life, and share to each other our daily moments of calm, our latest cunning strategies, our wise guidance, and moments of anticipatory thrill to each other over the phone. Now, like the juniper in his poem, I exhale, knowing that even though my dad is gone, the world of curious, beautiful, puzzling surprise he created is not. His finger is still pointing, and now, for the rest of my life as his daughter, I will continue to follow its trail. A trail where each day I'm surprised he's not around to FaceTime me or give me a hug. Where I'm surprised by how his presence presents itself. Where I'm surprised by each new chapter I had no idea I'd have to face without him. A trail that is no longer straight with a clear end, but where, at each bend, I'm habitually surprised by my dad's calculated but effortless steer. Thank you.
This is the closing song by Frances. She didn't write it, but she'll introduce it. Sorry, Frances. Thank you all again so much. After Frances's beautiful song, we have an open bar for a while. I hope you can relax, tell stories, take pictures. We have a lovely photographer here to take pictures. And one last thing, Bill Clark, there's a little sign over there. The Auburn Ski Club dedicated the race course to Jeff Hamilton. It's a top to bottom celebration. Thank you. Thank you also to Charla for making the beautiful programs, setting them, the tedium involved in the love that you have on your lap. Thank you to her. Thank you, Frances. Thank you, Eleanor, for being so brave. And we'll see you after this beautiful song.
This song is called A Safe Place to Land by Sarah Bareilles. Holding your breath is safer than breathing. When letting go is braver than keeping. When innocent words turn to lies, and you can't hide by closing your eyes. When pain is all that they offer, like a kiss from the lips of a monster. You know the family so well, but never met the feast. When home is the belly of the beast. The ocean is wild over your head, and the boat beneath you is sinking. Don't need room for your bags. Hope is all that you have. So say the Lord's Prayer twice. Hold your babies tight. Surely someone will reach out a hand, show you a safe place to land. Oh, imagine yourself in a building, up in flames, being told to stand still. The windows wide open, the sleep is on faith. You don't know who will catch you, maybe somebody will. The ocean is wild over your head, and the boat beneath you is sinking. Don't need room for your bags. Hope is all that you have. So say the Lord's Prayer twice. Hold your babies tight. Surely someone will reach out a hand, show you a safe place to land. Be the hand of a hopeful stranger, little scared but strong enough. Be the light in the dark of this danger, till the sun comes up. Be the hand of a hopeful stranger, little scared but strong enough. Be the light in the dark of this danger, till the sun comes up. Be the hand of a hopeful stranger. You're scared but you're strong enough. Be the light in the dark of this danger, till the sun comes up. 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 Till the sun. Till the sun comes up.
you all again for being here. It's been such a pleasure to see every one of you, and I think I hugged half of you. I hope to hug the other half. Thank you to JB Benna for live streaming. I think we'll have a recording. Thank you all for your love. Thank you for your love. Have a nice night.